All right. Good. Settling in. All right. You can completely relax. You don't have to do anything. Just let yourself receive. Remembering that a Dharma talk is just a little different than just listening to any talk. It's actually a practice. And there's a real opportunity when you're listening to a Dharma talk to stay very much in your body as you're listening and notice what lands in your body, how it arrives in your experience, what resonates, what jars. Often I listen to a talk and I feel something jarring and I feel it in the body. So you can take it up as an open eye practice and stay very close to your own experience. And if there's anything that you hear that does not land with you or doesn't fit with you, just let it go. Yeah. All right. So I wanted to explore, this is a variation on a talk I've given before, but I want to explore this idea of mindfulness of your own experience, your own inner world. And I have a bit of a growing problem with the word mindfulness. It's sort of it's not landing with me anymore. It feels like it's sliding right off me. Perhaps it's just overuse but I feel it's something a little different than that for me. I feel it's not quite fitting. It feels a bit clinical, or it doesn't seem to express the fullness of this word sati in the Pali, S-A-T-I. And the word that feels so much more evocative and true for me than the word mindfulness is to translate it as relationship. And this is the word that my teacher many, many years ago invited me to explore, is instead of the word mindfulness or even meditation, is the word relationship. And to really see if that fits for you. So I want to talk about that word and the translation of that. So for me, mindfulness meditation means relationship with life, when intimacy, if you like, with life, when a loving awareness comes into a clear relationship with anything in your experience, whether it's an object or a person, maybe an inanimate object. You know, we have relationships, so we can bring mindfulness to even inanimate objects. So not just people, but we bring mindfulness to anything and everything we can. So you might, like, even for me, this ring I'm wearing that my mother left me, and I have a relationship with this ring. You know, I have mindfulness, or I can meditate or have a loving awareness of something so precious to me as my mother's ring. So it can be an internal or an external experience or object. And mindfulness or relationship is when that awareness is direct, when it's clear, and when the relationship, the mind's relationship, perceives the changing nature of whatever you're relating with. So noticing the changing relationship of the breath. The breath might be the object. Or the changing nature of a mind state that's moving through you. Yeah, not identifying with it, so not wrapping a sense of self around it, but holding it openly and with curiosity. That is a real relationship. That's what I call a real relationship. Funnily enough, I do relationship counselling. I don't see a lot of relationship when I do relationship counselling. What I see is a lot of conditions meeting another set of conditions. So it's a really extraordinary thing to relate with clarity and with openness and with freedom of heart mind to whatever you're experiencing. So that relationship is open, receptive, and comes to know and understand more about the object that you're relating with. So when you're bringing mindfulness to breathing, or what I would call relationship to breathing, you really begin to understand breathing. You really start to know the breath, or know that breath. You know, the next breath will be different. But there's a sense that you know something that you didn't know before. That is another translation of meditation or mindfulness. To know something about the object, whether it's your breathing or your friend or an experience at work, you know something that you didn't know before. When there's true sati on board, it might be some sadness that's moving through your interior world. It might be having a relationship with your bicycle where you really get to know the bike, you see how it works. It could be a sunset. You know, this morning I saw the sunset, you know, I just was with it and started to really sense it and know it and receive it. So this practice of meditation, when we sit on the cushion, it's quite a still and internalized experience, but it's not just a rest and a retreat from the world. So many people talk about, you know, taking a rest or even going on retreat as if you're stepping out of experience, stepping out of the world. My experience, my sense of it is that it's a practice of relating or being with or being in connection with whatever is moving through you. So rather than stepping away from something, as you do a practice, a breathing meditation, you're actually moving towards and connecting and relating with your inner world very intimately. Your breathing, your thoughts, the sounds inside your body, all the mind states. There's so many mind states that move through one sitting practice. You're relating to whatever's there, whether it's chaotic or calm, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. It's a true relationship that can hold everything that you meet. And our Dharma practice is really a movement from this very subtle relationship with your own mind, noticing patterns in your mind, movements of mind, relating to your own mind, relationship with the breath, that's very subtle as well. Some people find that very difficult because the breath is so subtle. And it includes relationship or meditation on the body. So the Buddha gave these instructions on what to relate to. The body, the whole field of moving sensations. He said, have a relationship with those changing sensations. If you're a yoga practitioner or Tai Chi practitioner, or you go swimming or you do dancing as a meditation, you're having a relationship with constantly changing sensations. It's a beautiful way to practice mindfulness or relationship. And then that relationship's expanding out from your inner world to something more obvious, like strong emotions, having a relationship with strong emotions. And then it expands out even further to having a mindful or true relationship with the people in your life, those you love, those you encounter, strangers, people who are difficult. Mindfulness is having a relationship, having contact, connection, wanting to know and understand everyone and everything in your external world. Yeah. So it's much more than just awareness. It's really moving close, participating and wanting to know what's in you and outside of you. And this mindfulness, this relationship with the internal and the external, is reflected in the traditional metta practice. And we only did one step in the metta practice tonight, but many of you will know that it works on this, these concentric circles that I'm talking about. You start in the metta practice with a relationship, a loving relationship with yourself, and then you expand the circles wider and wider. A loving relationship with those you care about, a loving relationship with strangers, your community, someone who's difficult, and then all beings everywhere. In a metta practice, your mindfulness, or your heart, really, your heart mind, is relating to all beings, all of nature, all of experience, the embrace of the heart that relates to everything. All the rocks, all the trees, the stars, all the creatures, all the waves. You know, it leaves nothing out. Nothing is left out in this relationship of deep understanding, of deep seeing. So these widening rings of connectivity is really the heart of the metta practice. So this meditation I'm calling relationship, its hallmark and its attitude is one of being completely free from fabrication, and allows the object of your experience, whether it's your bicycle or the stars or your breath or some anger that's moving through your experience, to have its very own lifetime, to have its own expression, without grasping at it, without ignoring it, without delving into it, without identifying it with it, so not making it something about me, about you. Yeah. So it's a very special relationship. Yeah. It's one of appreciation if the mind is drawn to what you're in relationship with. Yeah, one of deep appreciation. Or perhaps it's when it's a difficult experience, a difficult object, a difficult circumstance, a difficult person, then the relationship is one of curiosity, one of wanting to know, and wanting of being equanimous with what it doesn't like. So this relationship is radically different. This mindfulness practice is radically different to any relationship that we're habituated to, which usually wants to change, cling, control, analyze, delve into all the objects that we meet when there's no mindfulness on board, or when there's no true relationship on board. So the Buddha's teaching helps us to come into this radical relationship with all of our experience, with what he described as the open heart mind in his teaching on the four qualities, the four intrinsic qualities of the heart, what he named as the Divine Abodes, the four Divine Abodes of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So these are, if you like, the essence of the relationship with whatever you're meeting. Your breath, your sounds, your partner, your boss, the tram, the sky, the rock, nothing is left out. And it's these qualities that are at the heart of this relationship. So in the last, I think it's 6 weeks, it could be 5, it could be 7. I have no idea how long lockdown, isolation, quarantine, whatever we're calling it's been going on for. It's almost timeless and spaceless now. But in the last 6 weeks or so, it's really struck me that my practice has been a very rich practice of being with myself, of bringing inquiry and investigation into the relationship that I have with myself. So I've spent a lot of time with myself lately. I don't know about you. It's hard to get away from yourself when you're in lockdown. I have other people, I have children here with me, or teenagers. More specifically, they're a very specific kind of human being. But I've spent so much time with myself, yeah. And I decided that I didn't want to squander this opportunity to really investigate the kind of relationship I have with myself. So that has been my practice in the last 6 weeks. Yeah. I wanted to see the attitude or the quality of the relationship in my relationship with myself. So I wonder how it's been for you, whether you've had any inquiry into that very important fundamental connection with yourself. And this practice of being with yourself has this formal practice of being on the cushion and perhaps closing the eyes and taking that interior view. So that's an incredible call to the interior life of your own self. And it's an opportunity to build a kind relationship with yourself when you sit on the cushion, when you quieten down, when you settle, close your eyes and draw towards your breath, your sensations, your thoughts. And you know, we call it mindfulness of breathing or meditating on breathing. I might have even said that tonight. You know, when I say it now, it really for me just doesn't do justice to this experience of sati, what the Buddha called sati and we call mindfulness. For me, mindfulness is instead relationship with breathing. So that's anapanasati that the Buddha called mindfulness of breathing, or relationship with breathing. Yeah. So what I'm interested in is bringing a kind, generous, generous relationship with this breath, this incoming breath, this out breath, and really getting up close to it. And the same too, you know, with all the thoughts that move through. So many thoughts in one sit, so many ideas and images. And the quality of the relationship when you're sitting is so powerful. You know, how open can it be? How patient can it be? Yeah. With your whole human experience, all the mind states, all the emotions that sweep through one sitting practice. What's sometimes called unconditional positive regard. There's an incredible psychotherapist called it unconditional positive regard for humanness. And that's what I call mindfulness. This basis of understanding, of welcoming, of allowing what's happening. That's the heart of a yogi's life, of a practitioner of the Dharma's life. Knowing that the conditions for happiness, for your own happiness, are present right now. So that's no small thing, that right now, just as you're sitting here or when you sit on your cushion next, that the conditions for happiness are present right now without having to improve yourself or change yourself. So this is unconditional relationship, or what could be translated as love from you to you. So the other word I'm creeping towards instead of mindfulness is love. I cannot see the difference between mindfulness and love. Love from you to you. Love from you to your breath, to mind states. And often when you sit down to meditate, you notice that a lot of the connection with yourself is bullying or harsh or critical. So maybe you've noticed that in a sit, that the mind just can't leave yourself alone. And our practice can often become a playground of correction and self-improvement when we meet that great divide between who we experience ourselves to be in the moment and who we think we should be in the moment. You know, this is a great cultural delusion that if we judge ourselves, that we'll improve ourselves somehow. But it's not what the Dharma teachings say. The third foundation of mindfulness teaches that when we see some aspect of our inner life, to just know it. Just know what's there. Leave yourself alone. Control nothing, just watching, just feeling. So if there's sadness or loneliness or a wandering mind, just knowing that is there. It's not who you are, it's just conditioned. And these moving phenomenon are just conditioned by past events and are just events in your mind. They have no substantiality. So it's really important that the mind doesn't identify with what's moving through. They don't belong to you. They're not who you are. They just come together and arise when the conditions are right. They express themselves as feelings or thoughts, agitation, anger, judgment. They're not who you are, and they move. So remember, there's a great difference between I'm lonely and here's loneliness. I'm angry and here's anger. To know it, to be in relationship with it, to hold it in awareness with this unconditional regard, not indulge in it, not deny it, just be really with it. Yeah. I had to learn this hard way myself when I was much younger. I was a very aversive type, quite critical of myself, and it became a bit of a sport. In fact, it was a family sport in my family. It was a culture in the family that we sort of picked on things as a family. We found fault with ourselves and with our experience. It was just the norm in the family. It was the soup that we all swam in. And I remember one day I had a very dear friend, and he used to listen to me, this critical sort of judgmental voice of mine. And one day he stopped me. I remember where I was standing. I was standing in a park in Bristol. I remember I remember what he was wearing. I remember what I was wearing. And he said to me in a loving, respectful way, he pointed out to me, your self-criticism, your critical mind is so painful. And it went through me like a thunderbolt. Because in that moment, for I don't know what reason, perhaps because of the practice I was doing, I simply received what he said and I heard it to be true. I didn't beat myself up for it. I didn't criticize myself further for it. I just knew it to be the truth. It was like a great insight. I was free from judgment. I didn't need to say, I'm an aversive type. Yeah, I just needed to recognize that when I'm triggered, when things get difficult, aversion arises in my mind. Criticism arises in my mind. I just saw it with neutrality. I don't have to punish myself for it. Yeah. I just need to be with it wisely if it arises. And that's a sign of a relationship of kindness and wisdom with myself. And that kind of relationship is reachable with yourself. It's not out of the realm of possibility to be soft with yourself, to offer yourself small gestures of patience, small gestures of understanding. Yeah. To just name what's there. This is sadness. This is aversion. This is tiredness. This is distraction. Not heaping criticism on any of it. Just whispering to yourself, it's okay. Here it is. It's okay. It's hard when difficult mind states visit, when difficult situations visit. So, to finish with a Rumi quote, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against love. So let's finish this time together just with a moment, perhaps closing your eyes down. Just finish with a moment of practice. Sitting here, and just for this last moment together, relating sweetly to yourself. Think of a blessing for yourself. May I feel safe. May I relate kindly to myself. May I be a friend to myself. Have the intention to relate to yourself in kindness and care, so that your heart might stretch over time. And when there's this relationship of understanding and care, there can only be peace. Okay. For being here, taking up this practice, this very beautiful relationship with anything you meet, particularly with your own dear self. Okay, so I really want to say good night, go gently into the night, and I'm going to mute myself and hand back to dear, dear Liz. Thank you so much.